everyone, Paul from High Tech Legion, and let me ask you, don't you love the smell of a new car? Or how about just the way that that beautiful paint looks on the finish? That nice, hard, lacquered enamel, or whatever they put on them nowadays. But one thing I can honestly say though, with paint, there is a difference between your high-end and your low-end vehicles. You can definitely tell. And of course, this segue has nothing to do with what I might be talking about, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at the new ASUS X99 Deluxe for the new Haswell-E processor, and this has a new Socket 2011 version 3. As you can see, it's a black box. It has the name of the motherboard, ASUS. Now, as you all might know, some people call it ASUS, some people call it ASUS. I was at a press conference where the CEO of ASUS said that this name came from Pegasus, so he calls it ASUS. So it is not ASUS, and until he tells me differently, let's go ahead and call it ASUS. So we have the ASUS name on it. ASUS. We have the ASUS name. We have a picture of the board on it. And the best thing about this is if you want to see the board, if it was inside, you can look through this clear panel. When we flip that up, we could also see that this talks about Dual Intelligent Processors 5, which is through AI Suite 3 in the OS. And this helps you optimize your system 5 ways. Of course, through overclocking, fan expert, TPU, EPU, etc. Of course, EPU being energy saving, TPU being your overclocking. You can automatically overclock this via AI Suite 3 also. On the back of the box, it just shows you the new socket, of course, which is the ASUS OC socket. It gives you some of the special features on it, and that's about it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the board, then we'll take a look at the accessories. Alright everyone, let's take a look at this beautiful board here. Now can you understand why I was talking about a paint job on a car? Take a look at these new heat sinks. They're white, they have a little bit of silver, they have a little bit of blue. There's some gray in them. They are enamel finished, they're nice, they're shiny. It gives the board a total new look. Something ASUS has not done before, or ASUS has not done before. And I actually really like this. The armor that's over the PCB for the Crystal Sound 2. The armor that comes over the I/O plate. Of course, you have your different armor on top of your heat sinks. Something that's really nice, and this is a standout with this board. It makes this board pop. But let's go ahead and go over the board. Of course, this is the Socket 2011 version 3. It is quad channel DDR4 memory. So you could put up to 64 gigs of memory on the board. If we look up at the top of the board, let's just go across the top here. We have our 2 fan headers, and we have our 8-pin CPU socket. When we come over across, this little button here is for your MemOK. So if you're having a problem with your memory, you go ahead and click that, and it will go ahead and reboot your system so your memory is set to the correct SPD. Your 24-pin power connector, and then followed by that is an M.2 slot. The M.2 slot is actually not a horizontal slot, it's actually a vertical slot used with this bracket. This bracket goes out the back here, comes up. The M.2 connects to this, so you could use that. So we also have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 native SATA 6G. The other ones down here on the bottom, they are as media. So in the SATA Express, we do have the bottom one, which is actually the ASMedia, and the top one, which is actually native Intel. Alright, let's go to the bottom of the board and take a look at the bottom of the board. Of course, this is our PCH heatsink, and you'll notice that we have some switches down here. This switch is actually for the denomination of single, dual, and tri-SLI. When you use this switch, if you're using, say, one card, they'll put a little light by which SLI, PCI port you're going to have to put it into. If you switch it to 2, which is right here, to go this way, there will be another light. So it tells you exactly which slots to go ahead and put your cards into, so you're getting the right frequencies, like your 2x16 or your 2x16 and 1x8. So it'll light up, it'll put a little light over here, and it'll tell you where to put your cards. Next to that, of course, is your, let me just get a better look here. This is your EPU switch, and of course this is your boot switch, and then right next to that is the TPU. The TPU is for manual, well, not manual overclocking, but auto overclocking. There's 2 switches, so you have an extreme setting and a regular setting for an overclock. Down below that, of course, we have our connections for our front panel of our case, which can be easily accessed by using this plug here. You plug that into there, plug that right into that header, and you're not going to have a problem plugging into your case. USB 2.0, front header for the USB 3.0, TPM, of course your clear CMOS with a debug. This I will get into in a second. You have a power and a reset button, and then of course this is for your audio. When we come over, we can see the solid caps for the Crystal Sound. This is of course on its own separate PCB with ESD on it, and underneath here is our Crystal Sound PCB with our Crystal Sound chip on it and everything that we're going to need for extreme sound. We'll turn it to the side, take a look at the side. Of course, we have our audio. I'll do that. That might look better, or let's flip it over this way. This is for our audio, and this right here is an integrated wireless LAN. This is 802.11 AC. It is 3x3, and it also has Bluetooth 4.0. Then we have 2 more ASMedia USB 3.0 connectors. USB 2 and 3 on this bank are native, as well as the 4 underneath the LAN ports. This is dual Intel LAN, and of course we do have our back to BIOS switch. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. That little plug, of course, here is the plug that plugs into that. What does that do? If you have a case, or if you want to put a lot of case fans in your case, a lot of times you don't have enough fan headers on your motherboard in order to plug every fan into your case. So what ASUS has done is given you an extra module that you could tack onto your case. Of course, there's some screws here to screw it on. You tack that onto your case via 4-pin Molex, which powers this. You could connect extra fans, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 7. And that's what that little plug is for down there. We'll look at the back of the board. Of course, the back of the board, we do see our little socket plate here, and that's basically it for the board. with a manual, and this is of course your user's guide manual. We then have a really nice sticker here with an X on it, and that basically denotes the nice enamel finish of the heat sinks and the armor on the deluxe board. A quick start guide, and of course the exclusive features of the motherboard manual. So let's take a look at what it comes with. Now, if you remember, I mentioned that it has 3x3 Wi-Fi on it. Here is your 3x3 Wi-Fi antenna. As you can see, 3 connectors. Flip that up. It is magnetic. You could go ahead and put that on anything that's magnetic just to hold it. We also have a triple SLI bridge. Of course, per spec, it says it could run five-way SLI, but we know we can only run a max of quad SLI, but it does come with a tri-SLI bridge. These screws here are for your M.2 vertical connector. Screw into the motherboard, and then the bracket for the face to screw it onto the plate. We have 8 SATA 6 connectors, a thermal probe, of course our cushioned I/O plate, or actually anti-ESD I/O plate. These screws here assist you in connecting the extra fan headers, and of course the wire that connects it to the motherboard. And another feature is the Hyper M.2 X4, which actually goes into a PCI slot to give you even better connectivity through the PCI lanes for your M.2. So basically, you could take your M.2 stick, either place it here and go in this way, or you could take your bracket, if I can find that, place it inside. Of course, you're going to screw your bracket on first and then place it there, and you got your vertical. So you have 2 options to use your M.2. Alright, now that we've taken a look at the board and all its accessories, I'll go ahead and talk to you about its performance, what I liked and what I disliked. As per performance, of course, this is with the new Haswell-E processor. So the Haswell-E processor does have 8 cores with 16 threads. So if you're doing something that requires multi-threading, Premiere Pro, Handbrake, a lot of video editing, a lot of CAD work or anything like that, this is going to be the processor for you. It's an extreme processor and it works very well on the ASUS board. You're going to get your benefit with this processor using high-end stuff, high-end gaming. You play at high resolutions, you have multiple monitors, you're playing some CPU intensive work. This is the system for you. As per performance, I got a 4.725 overclock with 1.297 volts in this, and the only thing that I had to change was the voltage on the actual processor. So that was the only thing that I changed. I didn't have to play with any load line calibrations, anything like that, which was very good, and that's probably one of the highest overclocks that you're going to get to see. And of course the benchmarks that we ran do show the increase in numbers with that actual overclock, and it was stable. What do I like about this? I like the crystal sound. The sound is awesome from this board. You would think that you're using a discrete audio card. Solid capacitors, the crystal sound 2 chip that's on it, the anti-ESD, etc. It works very well. ASUS was the first to start implementing this. Others have followed. So ASUS does have a handle on this a little bit better than the other guys. They're still trying to catch up to what ASUS has done. I love the beautiful heat sinks and the armor. The enamel coating gives it a pop that I've never seen before on a motherboard. The connectivity of the board itself, you have a ton of placements for your storage, including the M.2 and with, you know, the vertical M.2 and the hyper M.2 X4. As per USB slots, if you're going to fill all these up, then boy, you got a lot of stuff on your computer. But what I really like the most about it is that it comes integrated with Wi-Fi. A board of this caliber, this high end, even though it is a mainstream, needs to have Wi-Fi. I personally, unless I'm gaming, do not connect via a line. I don't hardwire in much anymore unless I am gaming. So I need something Wi-Fi. It gets rid of all the wires that are running across everywhere. Unfortunately, I have an older house where I can't get up into my attic and wire my LAN cables. It's just no way, no how, no possibility. So where my actual rig is and where my actual modem is are about 12 feet away, which means that I would either have to route my cable around the wall, do something in that aspect, so I'd have wires showing. With this, I'm able to even game decently, you know, something like, maybe not if I'm playing, you know, online, but if I'm playing something that I don't need that heavy bandwidth, I don't need those low latencies, this is perfect even to game with. You really don't have to hardwire up anymore. A board of this caliber in this price point does need Wi-Fi. If you buy another board and it doesn't have Wi-Fi, they're only hurting themselves. So we're going to go ahead and give the ASUS X99 Deluxe an Editor's Choice Award. Price is right for everything that it does have to offer. It gives you extra things that you didn't think you would get from this motherboard. And if you're familiar with their deluxe line, this is something totally new and awesome, and I'm glad they actually did it. No more silver or gold heat sinks. We actually went to something nice and white. Well, everyone, make sure you go ahead and read the full review at hightechlegion.com. Like us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/HTL Reviews. Twitter, twitter.com/hightechlegion. And of course, subscribe to this YouTube channel. You want more great reviews like this, more unboxings, more software videos? Make sure you subscribe to us. And of course, click on the button down there and go ahead and subscribe. Stay thirsty, my friends. I will see you the next time.